Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful. I'm for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey David, how you doing tonight?
Uh, well, I'm glad about the COVID restrictions being lifted eventually. I'm glad that Omicron maybe does seem. I was just thinking, Bruce, Omicron's come, and usually when the previous variant goes, there's already this other one kind of looming on the horizon in some other country. Like we've heard about it, and it's going to come our way. Doesn't seem like that's happening right now. So I'm just fingers crossed. I'm just hoping beyond all hope that this is the end game. So that's been on my mind all day. But in terms of the game tonight, frack, what a shit show.
Oh,
Not that was really that the Oilers lost 4-0 to the Vegas Golden Knights, and 18-12 on grade A shots for the Oilers.
for the Knights.
Excuse me, for the Knights.
Oh,
Started out okay the game, and at some point in the game you could have said, well, the Knights are just getting better puck luck, better breaks, but they just dominated the game as it went along, and it got increasingly frustrating to watch that game as a result. I found the Oilers' effort um, in the second and third periods to be really lacking, not to mention their execution. So, how are you?
well, I'm pretty bummed out by that game.
Yeah.
I mean, it started out they weren't ready for the start of the drop of the puck, and they never got a whole lot more ready from there. Just went sideways right from the first shift, and little bit of push at times, but no finish and not a lot of composure around the net, David, and the offensive zone. And the defensive play, to my eye, was atrocious in this game. Like, seriously terrible.
One of the worst defensive efforts of the year. Yeah, just easily one of the worst. And we'll get to that. So, we're going to do our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast. Hard to come up with good things today, Bruce, but what is your good thing?
My good thing is LB, Laurent Brossois, coming into his former haunts and sticking it to his old team with a 4-0 shutout. Boy, that's got to taste sweet for LB, who, of course, was a former Oiler and an Oil King before that, and who was essentially shunned by Todd McClellan during the 2017-18 season when Cam Talbot got hurt. He came in, he played some good games, some not so good games. And when Talbot came back, Talbot started the next 17 games in a row because uh, McClellan didn't have time for his young backup, which was foolishness in terms of how he Hardy rode Talbot, and it was foolishness in how he lost LB. And in fact, the Oilers did lose LB that summer as a Group 6 free agent because he played 3 games, not enough for the Oilers to keep him around. And of course, he had seen enough of Edmonton by then. So I've been a fan of him since he was an Oil King. So you got to find your small victories where they are, and a young guy coming in and putting a big goose egg on the board at Rogers Place, pretty sweet for him, and he played well. I mean, he was the first star, so I'm going to give him my good thing.
Couple big moments in the first period with Laurent Brossois. The first one comes when Vegas turns over the puck. It goes to Ryan McLeod, who puts it down low to Leon Draisaitl, and it's just Draisaitl and Kassian in front of the net. And Leon puts it over to Kassian, and Kassian can't score. He can't drain it. And he doesn't actually get off that bad a shot. He raised the puck. He got the puck off quickly, and he raised it. And Brossois made a fantastic save. Um, then the next moment comes. The Oilers were just down 1-0 when that happened. If they had tied it, then we got a game. Of course, Vegas gets up 2-0, but there's still a moment just late in the period where uh, Derek Ryan puts in a shot, uh, pass shot into the crease, and it goes to um, Krejci, does he just
Well,
pass
well,
it? Did he pass
well,
it to Shore?
he shot it from an angle, and the rebound went to
To
Shore and
Shore, that's right.
Fogel, and they credited the shot to Fogel. It was they were jamming around. They could have got one there, but
I thought it was Shore that put it off the
yeah.
crossbar, but anyway,
Oh, it was Shore. That was from a play from behind the net. Yes, and that
yeah,
was a
that
shot
was the
off the
pass. No, we're
crossbar.
talking about
Right?
different plays. Yeah. So yeah, that was the pass, and it was a nice pass and just a fantastic shot by Devon Shore, like a one-timer backhand shot, I think,
Mhm.
and it goes off the crossbar, and that's the game. I mean, the Oilers they needed to score at least on one of those, and they were unable to do so, and it didn't get any better after that. I'll go with a good thing of Duncan Keith, and I was struggling to think of any good things, but I saw Keith good tonight. I thought he was moving well, passing the puck well, generally defending better. It's not saying a whole heck of a lot, Bruce. Better than the other defensemen out there. Yeah, I think I think he's starting to play a pretty strong game, and I liked his overall play, so I'll go with him. Bad thing, Bruce.
Yeah, bad thing. We're doing one, right? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to just pick on uh, defensive play, well, by the whole team, but I'm particularly going to talk about defensemen. And I thought three of them were pretty atrocious tonight in their own zone, and that would be the pairing of Darnell Nurse with Evan Bouchard, and then the couple of very major mistakes by Tyson Barrie that both led to goals against. But the pairing of, I mean, the very start of the game, David, first shift, Evan Bouchard passes the puck right into his own slot to what's his name? Oh, Mark Stone, that guy who quickly wheels and fires what I saw as a tricky. I mean, you want your goalie to make the save, but you want your goalie not to have to make that save 12 seconds into his first game in a month, be facing an opposing star, one timing a giveaway from 10 feet away. And then 10 seconds later, both Nurse and Bouchard were beaten for another grade A chance from in close, and the goalie had their back that time. And it just spiraled downhill from there. And it was, I mean, that pairing, we've got Nurse in this game uh, involved in zero grade A shots for the Oilers and six uh, for uh, for Vegas, including two that wound up in the net where we had him as one of the culprits, and there was multiple culprits, of course, on almost all of the goals. But uh, he was just way out of sorts. David Nurse in this game had six shot attempts, and all of them were blocked. He didn't get a single shot on net. Every shot that he took was blocked. And there was one where he fired and it went over the net from close range. I guess they're saying a defenseman tipped that over the net and it went around and Vegas came down the other way and scored. But just more generally, uh, I don't know even how you would count odd man rushes in this game, but there were so many plays where the Vegas forward had an advantage on the Oilers defenseman who was scrambling to try and cover the guy. And sometimes it would be a 2-on-1 or an obvious odd man rush, and other times it would be like, sort of equal manpower, but not an even situation because the guy was going wide and ducking around the defenseman and going in on Mike Smith and crashing into Mike Smith, which happened several times. And there was, I just thought that the defense compared to Las Vegas defense and the maturity shown by their guys, and I mean they're not all old players either. I mean, Dylan Coughlin is 23 years old, and he looked all right. But they were getting in the lanes. They weren't giving away any odd man rushes. I don't think you could find one that the Oilers had in this game. They were, blocking shots. They were getting right on the puck carriers, and the difference in quality between the defensive games of the two teams was shocking. And then just Tyson Barrie on the power play, he fires a one-time slap shot that gets blocked. The guy jumps on it for a breakaway, and Barrie can't even keep up with the second guy who just zooms right by him. I don't think I ever realized quite how slow Tyson Barrie is until I saw this play where William Karlsson started from like 5 feet behind him at the Edmonton blue or at the Vegas blue line, and he wound up 10 feet in front of him, putting the puck in the net at the other end of the ice. It was just a total mismatch. And then the third goal, where after Nurse missed the shot and the puck kind of came careening around into the neutral zone. And yeah, it was odd. The Oilers had three defensemen on the ice because Cece had just come out of the penalty box. Nurse jumped up into the rush. Cece
Mhm.
didn't really cover for Nurse. And Barry was the only guy back. And he had an easy play to make. He just had to decide to step up, and play the puck because it was coming right to him. And he backed up and he backed up. And then he tried to reach out. And while he was backing away from it, play the puck. And he just tapped it sideways right to the Vegas guy. And they were gone and in and scored. And it was just poor decision followed by poor execution, and that is always a recipe for disaster.
Just endless this game. It was just one thing after another. And
Oh man.
yeah, Bruce. I'm just gonna build on what you're saying because I just think, when you think about, like, I was talking the other day about what a weird team the Oilers are, and maybe they're not. Maybe really they're just a crappy defensive hockey team. And with weak goaltending. Certainly how I'm left feeling after tonight's game, just a team that doesn't really fundamentally commit to defensive hockey, to
Yeah.
making that job one, or job two at least, maybe job one. It's just not there. And I actually thought the fourth Vegas goal kind of epitomized that
Mhm.
because it had kind of all the, you know, it, it, Bouchard had a little bit of bad luck because the puck kind of deflected off him, but then he's kind of spinning around and he's lost the play and his back's to the play and he's out of it. And we see that a lot too much. He's a rookie, right? So it's kind of expected from Bouchard. It's going to happen now and then. But then, the puck's moving around down low and Nurse is on his belly trying to stop it. And it kind of goes past him once or twice too. And you get the feeling if he'd only been on his feet for a couple of those moments, he would have been able to stop one of those passes, stop the pass. But he wasn't on his feet. So the pass goes from low to high, to the guy in the slot who gets off a free shot because, Connor McDavid is puck watching essentially and slow on the back check. His head isn't on a swivel. He's not looking at who's coming in, who he might be on, and he misses the guy. So these are three of the best players on the team, two of the very best players on the team, the captain and the assistant captain. And, there's lots of reasons the Oilers aren't a good team. And people are, and I am hesitant and reluctant to ever criticize McDavid and Draisaitl and Nurse, for their overall play because they are such fantastic players in a lot of ways. But if I'm completely honest, Bruce, they've all got to pull up their socks on defense. They've got to do a better job, um, individually, the three leaders on the team, and collectively as a team, just in tightening up defensively, in maybe going through a streak of 10, 15 games where you make that job one, where that's all you're really thinking about. And you're thinking, we'll have the offense come as it may, but we are not, I personally am not giving up a grade A shot. Like, that's not happening when I'm on the ice, even if it means playing a little bit more conservatively. Would that make sense? Is that crazy talk, Bruce?
Well,
Or
there's a
that's,
lot of one and done and the puck flying the other way, and the other team that plays bend don't break and then counterattack and skate hard. And boy, does that create, seems like a ton of open ice and a ton of headaches for Edmonton defensively. Like they seem to be scrambling defensively a lot.
yeah, yeah. Talented team, like an
Oh
exciting
yeah.
team,
Hmm.
very interesting
Wow.
team, roller coaster of a team, car
Mm.
crash of a team. They're it's an interesting squad, but I just think it doesn't seem like a Dave Tippett team, like in terms of the way they defend or play hockey even. Um, I don't know what he thinks about it. He's always pretty positive, but it's just starting to, like, if when you connect the dots, there's goaltending, but it's more than goaltending. It would have been nice for Mike Smith to make some saves,
Yeah.
on some of these grade A shots, but there
Hmm.
were 18 of them, and
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
only going to
he made
stop.
some saves later in the game. I
Yeah,
had a couple in the first minute, and TV commenters were talking about how good he would looked in the first period, making four saves out of six shots. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, that one that went through the five hole from 33 feet out didn't look that great to me. And sure, it was it was on a rush and stuff, but we called it a grade A shot, but you need to save on 3/4 of those shots, and they needed to save on that one.
Yeah. So yeah, the whole defensive aspect of their game from the goalie on out is not clicking. It's not.
Didn't tonight.
And I think for in the entire losing streak,
Yeah.
and I don't know, was it papered over by a great power play early on? I can't. I'm not so sure about that. It just seems to be deteriorating a little bit. Okay, Bruce, what is your number?
Yeah, okay. I think I'm going to go with this one. This is Edmonton's last 11 home games. Number of goals scored: 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 5, 4. That's pretty good. 0, 5, 2, 0. And so they've been held to one goal or none in 6 of their last 11 home games, to 2 goals or fewer in 8 of their last 11. This is a team that's supposedly built around its offense. They can't score in their home ice. And they routinely have, good NHL teams come in here and thump the Oilers. Minnesota 4-1, Carolina 3-1, Toronto 5-1, Florida 6-0, Vegas 4-0. I mean, they're getting spanked consistently on their home ice. And by lopsided scores where they don't score much themselves. And they did win. They beat Nashville in the shootout. They beat Calgary in a game where they got badly outplayed, but they got a goalie win that night. But it's year after year, David, where it seems like the home games, the Oilers roll out the welcome mat for a chunk of the season, and it's it's gotten old. I'm getting old. I thought my dotage, I might finally see this team turn it around with these, superstar players that they have. And right now, even those guys are not really getting much done. I mean, the offense is on them, right? I mean, they
Yeah.
haven't scored much in those games because nobody scored much in those games.
Well, this is related to my number, Bruce, which is about
Okay.
the power play. And I just wanted to look at the splits. So, my number is first overall and 23rd overall. So in the first 22 games that they played, the Oilers were first
Hmm.
overall in the NHL. They had a power play percentage of about 35%. In these last 21 games, they're 23rd in the league for that period for the Oilers, 23rd overall, and they're clipping on about 18%. So they scored 24 goals in the first 22 games, and they've scored 9 in the last 21. And mediocre power play. It's so unexpected.
Yeah.
That truly is. And I know
Hmm.
power plays, people say they're finicky and you can go up and down, but come on. The talent on this power play,
Yeah.
um, it is immense. And I know that there's been some frustration because they're getting slightly fewer power plays chances per game.
Hmm.
Not tonight though. They got quite a few tonight.
Three.
And
Oh, they went -1 for 3 in tonight's game. So I keep track
yeah,
as net power play goals. And of course, they gave up a shorty.
yeah.
And they got 4 shots. And by the last power play, they couldn't even generate a shot. And Vegas only had 1 power play.
We know from when I dug into these numbers recently that there's a correlation between Draisaitl getting off his executioner shot, his one-timer shot,
Hmm.
and power play success, and the other teams are taking that away. They are taking that away, and the Oilers haven't really been able to find a go-to scoring play since they took that away. So that's an interesting thing. What could they try that they're not doing now? And I don't think you want to move Draisaitl out of that spot because they really do have to cover it. I was hoping that with Bouchard on the point and him being able to shoot, that might be the solution. Hasn't really been yet. Might be eventually. Hasn't been yet. It looks like McDavid and Nuge are going to have to find a way to score from the other side a little bit more. And the guy in front, work some plays with the guy in front. Maybe focus on that a little bit, setting up the low man, Kane or Puljujärvi or Hyman, who's ever down there. Think about that. Um, because they're not getting that great chance, the crossing pass to Draisaitl for his shot, and they're not figuring out anything else to do.
Leon's got 13 power play goals on the season, leads the team by a wide margin, but all 13 of those goals came in the first 25 games. In the last 18 games, bupkis, like not even one. And I mean, I'm not
Wow.
going to say that's all Leon's fault, but I will say that
No.
the power play has crumbled, and they have not come up with alternate solutions. Teams have found out ways to take away that passing lane or that shot, and the Oilers are not finding other ways to beat them. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who I wrote very kind things about today and rewarded me by going -3 tonight. He has 0 power play goals on the season, 15 assists, 0 goals. So, I mean, he's contributing to the offense, but he's not an alternative finisher because he hasn't been finishing at all. McDavid
Yeah.
recently broke out of, I think it was a 22-game slump for McDavid with between power play goals. And it's kind of mind-boggling because I mean, this isn't just they were hot for the first 2 months of the season. David, they've been hot for 3 years.
I know, Bruce. I'm not seeing like with McDavid, in my mind's eye, when the power play was going good, he was everywhere making plays,
Skating. Hmm.
skating, and I don't know if that stopped. I'm not sure that it has. Maybe he got sick and it that slowed down or just got tired for a while. But I think he still might be trying to do that. But I think they might be playing him super tight, getting on him as well. And maybe this is it. Like maybe they have to go to a bit more of a passing game. We did see one sequence there in tonight's game where they were suddenly
Yeah, that was good.
flashing the puck around, darting, one dart after another. And maybe that's it. That what worked with McDavid moving ever with the puck on his stick, well, they're they know that's going to happen now, and they're looking for him to go over and then set up Draisaitl, and they're taking that away. Whereas really, it has to be a bit maybe less of a two-man game and more of a five-man game on the power play. I don't know. I haven't looked at the hours of, you'd have to go back and look at the power play, all of this video, and think hard about it to come up with solutions. So I'm not saying I have any, but just trying to on the fly. The one thing we're noticing, and both, him not getting off that executioner shot and him not scoring, like you say, in these recent games is indicative of something, and it's pretty obvious that they're taking that away. But how are they doing that? And what could the Oilers usually when a team takes something away, you can take back something on the power play. They got to give up something else. So what
Mhm.
can they take advantage of if they're overplaying Draisaitl? Well, maybe it's going to have to be Nugent Hopkins setting up Puljujarvi on the other side, or maybe moving Bouchard down to that half wall so he can shoot off the half wall, have Nugent the point, or something else. Like I'm not sure, but it ain't working now too well.
No, nope. They got one last game against Washington on their only chance. But otherwise, they're like 1 for 15, counting that goal, the McDavid goal in Washington. They're 1 for 15 in their last 6 or so games.
Yeah,
Bouchard got 2 against Calgary in his first game on the point. Since then, they've had 15 power plays and produced 1 goal. And they've been winning those games. I mean, this team that came into tonight on
yes,
a 5-0-1 run. I mean, let's not forget there was some considerable momentum going, but during this 5-day layoff, all of it left the building.
and the fact is, they just can't afford to be. I guess the fear is, oh, this is going to be another losing streak. Like they look horrible. They're going to go on another losing streak. I mean, that's my fear. I'm just speaking for
We'll find
myself.
out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Play right
So let's
away.
see. They've got to
Play right
bounce
away.
back. They've got it. They
Get
can't.
back on
They
the
were
horse.
they were a bit lucky against Washington to get the win, but you're going to get some lucky wins now and then. But they've got to play better. And they seem to have quite a bit of talent, Bruce. Like I'm not like there are some guys that can play. Ryan McLeod's looking good. Evander Kane's looking good. Like you pointed out, he had I think 10 shots and 5 hits
10
and
shot attempts. Yeah. Five
yeah,
on
10
net,
shot
five
attempts.
hits.
So they've got some pieces here. They got Mike Smith back. Maybe he will not get injured again, but they can't have games like this. This was really bad.
Devin Shore tonight, he ran an opponent into Mike Smith for the second time this year. It was Shore who took the Anaheim player into Smith in game 3 that caused the first time he was taken out. And he was just coming back hard on his check, but holy moly. You know, you're supposed to be protecting your goalie, not running guys into him.
The one other thing I didn't like that game was the coach having Cassian on Draisaitl's line. I just, I mean, we've we've seen Zach Cassian now in a top six role for a long time, and it doesn't work. It's not happening. Stop trying to make Cass happen like in that role, coach.
Stat sheet says he has 3 shots and 7 hits, but I bet you our count of grade A shots doesn't include much by Cassian. And I know
Well, one,
Draisaitl set him. Oh yeah, he had that one on the 3-way passing play,
yeah.
and then Draisaitl set him up right in the slot, and it was like he froze. It was like, shoot the darn puck, man. And he froze and tried to look for a play, and don't be the fancy Dan. Sometimes, as Harry Neal said, crushers who want to become rushers soon become ushers. And that's where they may be going with a couple of these guys. Anyway, I mean, he actually did land one heavy hit in the first, which was the first one I'd seen in a while in the first period. But
Okay. All right, Bruce, let's leave it there. Thanks for
let's leave it on a heavy sigh.
yeah. Well, that
Oh,
Harry Neal line made me laugh, so we'll
that's
leave it on
good.
that. That was funny. All right,
It
thanks
is
again,
fun.
Bruce. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.